All right. Hello, GM, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of If You Know, You Know. I am your host, Belle, and each single week I bring to you amazing artists and amazing people that are moving the needle forward in Web3. We are talking about building new trends, opportunities, everything inside of Web3. I'm super excited to have two legends in the house today, in my opinion, two OG artists who are super talented and who are just inspiration, I would say, for so many other artists. Cory Van Loo is going to be joining us in about 30 minutes, 30 minutes. But right now I have the pleasure of introducing you to Coldie. What's up, Coldie? How you doing?
Hello, Belle. Good to be back. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm so happy. So the first time we had you on, maybe last summer. I don't know. It was a while ago, and we had such an amazing conversation. Streaming live wasn't even a thing on Twitter Spaces when we had our space, and I remember saying, "Man, we should do a podcast so that we can see the art behind you, etc." And here we are, live streaming. We can see all of the art behind you. I'm so excited.
Yeah, no, it's good to be here. This is my physical artifacts from a lot of my crypto friends and some of my own stuff, and it's just it's fun to see the wall even from the screen.
It is. It is. Is there anything back there that is your favorite? What's your favorite?
Oh man, let's see. Man, I definitely love the Pindar Van Arman Coldie robot painting, and I have a couple Die with the Most Likes originals. This one is huffing Duster at Best Buy while playing GoldenEye.
Wow.
Near and dear to my heart. And then a kind of a collab, I guess. I was fortunate to be in a Die with the Most Likes Bob Ross painting party, and I painted a pair of truck nuts. Again, just another absolute grail.
That's wild. I mean, how did you even come up with that idea, truck nuts?
So Die hosted this painting party at Consensus in Austin, and so he stood up on stage just like Bob Ross. He had the afro wig, and he guided us through this painting, and I was very liberal with my interpretation of truck nuts. Quite proud of this impromptu painting session with him, and that'll just go down in my fun memories of crypto conferences.
That is 100% a grail.
I love it. Yeah. The other one, I really love this Sutu. This piece is super sick. So I onboarded Sutu with his first NFT. He did a collab with deadmau5, and he made me this custom disc. And that artwork's actually his Genesis piece on Tezos, which I have several of. And let's see if I can. He sent me that disc, and it's actually made by the same person who makes the discs for NASA.
Wow.
Put them up into space, so it's space proof, I suppose.
That's incredible.
Yeah, so after everything gets vaporized, maybe in thousands of years they'll find this weird disc.
You should send it up to the moon. Have you seen has any of your art made it up there? I know there's like a lot of projects that have.
My art is just currently in this realm.
Okay, got it.
I haven't blasted through that quite yet.
You haven't done that. Okay, yeah, no, that makes sense. There are some projects though that have sent up artwork up to the moon, right? Yeah.
Yeah. No, my stuff is currently on Earth.
Earth,
yeah.
That's awesome. The last time that I saw you was in Miami.
Yes.
And you had an amazing exhibition out there. And I remember that there's a tremendous story behind it.
Are you talking about the Trippers?
Yes.
Yeah. So the Trippers, so about 15 years ago, and that's pre-crypto and all that, I was living in LA and just doing art and design, and I was at LA Weekly and having an early art renaissance where I was just making, covers for, 100,000 people a week. And, it was just a super amazing experience. And in that process, I don't know where it came from, but I started getting this story flooding in my head. I grew up where the gold rush in California started, and this gold rush story started kind of flooding in my brain. And I'm not like a writer by trade. And after a certain amount of time, it kept lingering around in my head. So I just, try to do like a RAM dump so I could just type it and get it out of my brain. And that just started more, right? So I just kept writing and writing and writing. And all of a sudden I was like writing, hours and, every night, just getting this story out of my head. And, I developed a whole story arc, and, it's kind of a historical fiction with just avant-garde on top. It's kind of a Robert Rodriguez, Tarantino kind of take on the gold rush. And, just sat on my hard drive for years, and, I'd noodle on it. And as time kept going, I really wanted to get this out there and start telling this story. So I developed this series, which is a subplot to the story, which are these time traveling gold miners who are searching for El Dorado. And El Dorado is the age old story, right, of people looking for, the gold fields of everything you could dream of. So this is a first step into that reality. And with that, I created a series of these characters that I used AI for, right? Because we have these new tools, which was fun. So I started creating these characters through prompts and refining them. And then I cut them all out and collage them in actual 3D space. And I've now created a stereoscopic landscape for the first scene of this new reality. So yeah, I did a I guess just a preview drop. It's still in the works, and there's a long story arc to it. But the really fun part was I made it multi 3D mediums.
Yeah.
So there was, the digital version that you could look at with anaglyph, the red and blue glasses, these types of things. And then I took it a step further, which was new for me. And I created a ViewMaster, which I'll pull it out here, show you. A ViewMaster, which is the first way I ever experienced stereoscopic art when I was like 5. So, these are, custom, 3D viewers that when you put it up and you look through it, you have a stereoscopic visions, just as that time traveling gold miner saw the situation. So,
wow. Coldie, are those the ones that you drop a little disc inside?
Yeah, exactly. So you got the viewer, and then this.
Yes.
The disc with 7 3D pictures on it.
Mm-hmm.
And that will be part of the the forthcoming release of the series. So I'm getting, playing with digital, but also in a physical space that's uniquely fun for me to create. So yeah, it's unfolding in real time, and the discs will create lore and storyline around the series itself.
I love how you have such a unique way of incorporating the old with the new.
Thank you.
Your entire artwork is based off of very, very old art technology, right? I mean, I remember on the last show you were talking about how when you were young, when you were a teenager, you started attending these workshops, these art discussions with a bunch of grandpas and grandmas, right?
yeah, good memory. Yeah. I joined this the LA 3D club. And they would meet in the basement of a church, which was, I guess, the best situation that they had available. And I just started going, it was open to the public, and I walked in there and I was like 22, and I stood out like a sore thumb. It was before, much of anybody was thinking about like stereoscopics with art. And, I just started soaking up this knowledge. They saw me and the initiative and what I was creating, and they kind of took me under their wing, and they said that, we love people like you to carry the torch, because a lot of these people have since passed away.
Yeah.
And they just told me their collective hundreds of years of, knowledge. And, I walked away from that club having just this immense knowledge base that then I would take into my own art practice and, slice it and dice it and do it in my way. And that really was so invaluable. And, like I said, a lot of them have passed away since then. So it's kind of bittersweet when I think about those early days with them.
Yeah. So fast forward to so many years, and now we're at the point where AI is incorporated as part of it, right? So many people would argue that incorporating AI or the usage of AI is not fair and not true art, right? What are your thoughts on that, surrounding that?
Early on with AI art, especially in the, the digital NFT space, I saw the imperfections of it and the vision, and that really drew me to the art form itself. Right now we're looking at these, video photorealistic renders, to the deep fake level where you can't even tell, what's real and what's not. And I really loved the early stuff because it was whimsical in a sense that you knew this wasn't real. And I started collecting a whole bunch of stuff, just out of, again, there was no market, no one cared, but I was collecting it as I just saw where it was heading. And as a collector, I feel like I was seeing the potential of it. And, as it kept going in 2019, actually, I was really inspired by like Robbie Barrett, Mario Klingemann, Helen Sarin, the list goes on and on and on. Right. I was collecting a bunch of this stuff, and as an artist, I love to experiment with new tools. And I did a series. It was just a 3-piece series. It's called Gandinsky 3D. Mm-hmm. And my favorite, one of my most favorite artists is Vasily Kandinsky. And the idea came that in some weird way, I could take, Kandinsky paintings and, the body of work, throw it into the GAN processor and start getting these outputs. And first of all, that was super fun to see what was happening. And again, it wasn't perfect, and that was great. Much like Trippers, if you were to line up my body of work, there is a through line through it all, right? And this Gandinsky series was really an early way that I could experiment with 3D camera movements and animations and using the tools while I was, focusing on other, portrait projects and things like that. This was kind of an incubator project. And, I made, like I said, 3 pieces, and that kind of checked the box for me, for having it, this experimental time. And, I didn't, I've used AI to create assets along the way. But really, between Gandinsky 3D and Trippers, it shows that storyline, right? I took that experimental side, and then I came back to it as the tools and the technology, improved. And now I have this pseudo hyper-realistic stereoscopic, landscapes, right? So again, it checks another little box of good experimentation with technology, and it'll just keep going on and on.
Are there any new tools or technology or anything that you're looking at right now?
Yeah, that's a good question. I've definitely been playing with the video AI, and seeing how that can accentuate things that I'm working on now. And it's just quite amazing. My background's in art direction and graphic design, so I'm now being the art director for the computer, and I think that is an important distinction for us humans that are using AI is that we still have our hand on it, and being able to direct these outputs and make sense of them as artists is just a whole new paradigm. Like, you know, I like, people are making movies. Like, I could freaking make a movie now if I want. You know, it's just eye and taste creates, you know, things that you're proud of when it hits that mark.
Yeah, it's almost like AI, in one sense, takes away a lot of, you know, the control and a lot of what we can do as individuals, right? But on the other hand, it completely empowers you to be able to use it how you want to, right? And mold it how you want to, and like you said, you become the director.
Yeah, I think that even as time goes on and, you know, the tools improve, we don't have to allow automation to dictate our creative lives. We could use these tools, harness them, and continue to have the human touch. Because once we lose the human touch with AI, then, like, you know, who's making the art?
Yeah.
You know? And for me, using AI as a, you know, a base layer or an augmenting component to what I'm building is satisfying, right? I am not satisfied. I mean, I've gotten some outputs that are pretty fucking sick that I love, but then taking it the next step, and for me as a collage artist, putting that into a new landscape really sets me free. Like, I have stacks and stacks of source materials, you know, old books, old magazines, things that a collage artist would use to, you know, clip and make their artworks. I still use those, but I also have this ability to create fantastical things that are not possible, like time traveling gold miners. Like, that is not in any books that I've seen.
Right.
So being able to prompt that and get these results, it frees me up to not be beholden to what's in my source materials.
Yeah. It's definitely not anything that we're used to in digital art, right? And in this kind of scene, I want to pivot a little bit about the landscape of the current things, the way that the things are right now, right? I was talking about this with Cory last week, and I want to get your take, because I think I always think it's such an interesting dynamic of the current events that we are in right now, right? We're currently in the celebrity meta. We're currently in like this meme coin era, etc. You know, a lot of people say NFTs are dead, the art side is dead, etc. Right? And yet, every single conference, you mentioned that you were on Consensus. I didn't go to Consensus because I was in Portugal and every single conference, in my opinion, gets stronger and stronger. So, you know, like, I can see with my own two eyes, none of this is dead, right? But what do you think about the current landscape of events right now, current NFT Web3 space?
I think it's important to look at the mouthpiece that is projecting their agenda, right? Like, if the NFTs are dead, then perhaps that person is made some decisions that are not playing out. Maybe, you know, maybe they're looking at these as more of a flipping tool, you know, or something that their time horizon is extremely short. And I implore those people to look at our history book, you know, open up something that lets you know the time horizons for what it takes to be an art collector, right? We're looking for these instant 2X's and, you know, blah, 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 like all these things on top of the base layer of art. And I give kind of 0 F's for that type of outlook of art is dead, because, you know, I was making art 20 years ago, and I will make 20 years from now, knock on wood. And, you know, that is the path. And for me, the digital art tokenization that we've bastardized with the acronym NFT kind of really doesn't give any credit to even the art on its own, right? And that, as a digital artist, I do take offense to that, right? Like, I make art. Like, yes, it's on the blockchain, and yes, I make physical art. They're all the same things. It's the medium and the transactability that are unique. So, is the market down right now? Yeah. Are there a multitude of reasons why that's happening? Absolutely. Is it dead? I mean, I can say that, again, in our history book, every piece of art is not in an art history book, right? And I think that the collectors who have been collecting for a long time and have trained their eye, a lot of times pre NFTs. I was in galleries for 10 years when I was living in LA. Like, I trained my own eye for what I wanted to collect. So when I came into NFTs, I already had some acumen for like what my taste was. So when I saw something I liked, I wasn't looking for a consensus vote online. Like, I would just buy the thing. And a lot of times those are the best decisions because, first of all, you like it. And second of all, it's not because of the value that you can see coming. It's just an appreciation. And when you go to somebody's house that collects art, they don't tell you, I bought this 8 years ago, and I'm I haven't been able to flip it since then, and I'm pissed. They love the oil painting, and it makes their house more beautiful, right? So once we can get back to that thinking, that is where this space melts faces.
Yeah, I love that. Do you think that the hive mind that we live in, social media is all about hive mind, right? Social media is all about what everybody else is doing. That's what's popular and garners the attention, and the same people will always be the loudest, or the loudest will always get the attention, et cetera, et cetera. How harmful, like how much does that play in? How is it harmful? Is it not, does it really not matter? Specifically as it relates to digital art?
I mean, there's always the tastemaker, right? And there's always somebody who has an opinion. And everyone's opinion obviously is valid. And I think that it's being discerning with who you take information from, right? It's the same thing as a meme coin. It's like, yeah, this shit's going to the moon, right? Well, what? Like, what's the story behind it? Like, what's the reasoning? If there's a good thesis behind it, then okay, I'll listen to that. But if there's an agenda behind it, then the hive mind can be used as a tool for the person who created the hive, right? And I think that also a lot of people came into the space not having a background in art or collecting art, and a lot of times it's like training wheels where you can listen to somebody, and through that, hopefully, you start creating your own thesis and vision around collecting. And yeah, I mean, some are spot on. I mean, there's artists out there that people talk about all the time that I agree with. And yeah, I do think that they'll be in art history books. And I also know that there's thousands of artists who are not being talked about that also could be in art history books. And that's the thesis of this, is a long road.
Yeah.
Like, usually you have to be dead for a long time before the flowers are given or whatever that comes back. And we're living in this hyper speed of space where a month is a year or something, So yeah, some people have excelled to a level that potentially will have them in art history books. And, for the artists out there, don't getting stuck on the instant gratification and why not me, I think is a disservice to the artist, right? We need to just make art. And, being a full-time artist is not in the cards for most artists all the time, right? So it's a reality check in good ways. but it's how do you navigate your own art career? Like, are you here for 30 years? Answer that question. If you plan on making art for 30 years, then slow sales and not selling out right now, that has no bearing on anything. There's plenty of very famous artists out there. It takes like a year to sell a print series. Not like I didn't sell out in 20 minutes, I'm a failure, and the market dumps you. It's like, that's super fucked up. Like, that's the most toxic part of this whole thing is artists getting emotionally beaten up, whether it's themselves or externally, because of very quick expectations. That's bad. I do not like any of that.
Do you think that the era of 2021 specifically, in which pretty much everything sold out, right? I mean, if you minted anything, whether it was a piece of art or whether it was a collection or a PFP project, chances are it minted out very quickly. And there were a lot of artists and creators. I mean, absolutely, no matter where you came from, with zero experience, whatever it is that you did on the blockchain, you probably minted out. You probably sold out, right? And do you think that that set up really false expectations for a person that had never had any art experience or business experience, saw what happened in 2021, and now falsely expects that that's the way it should be, that's the way that it's supposed to be, and why is it not happening like that?
Well, again, it's back to the expectations and taking an honest, true look at the full journey. Like I was part of that 2021, and it was super exciting, and a lot of crazy opportunities came from that, and it was a time and a place, an inflection point. And I think that once the euphoria is past, what are you left with? As an artist and a collector, like, did you buy a whole bunch of upside down zebras with weird hats and staffs that you didn't like, but you thought you were going to get a 4X on? Well, tough shit. That's probably not going to come back.
Yeah.
And all you can do is learn, right? Like, learn, be discerning, and next time, whatever your vision is do it better, right? And also with that, who's still here making authentic creations from a development standpoint, from an art standpoint? Anything that is building a foundation is valuable, right? And leaving, there's nothing wrong with leaving, right? Like, there's no such thing. Again, look at our history book. Like, some artists will just dip out for freaking 5 or 10 years, and then they come back, and that's it. So I think, it's a really tough space, especially when you come in and things are popping, to not see that continuing. Like, everyone was like, this is going to go on forever. This is it. And it's all, those things are all true. The time horizon just stretched out. Right. I think about that all the time myself. Like, I'm working on literally like 5 or 6 different projects that have multi-year rollouts. Right. And it's not the instant gratification. That's my take on it. I'm looking at things more longer term than shorter term, because that's, for me as an artist, the way I want to present my own art.
Yeah, I think we've become a culture so embedded in instant gratification that when we don't get it, things are going wrong. Things, I need to make a career change, or I need to rethink things, instead of saying, perhaps this is the way that it's supposed to be. Perhaps I'm not supposed to be instantly gratified, right?
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of learning lessons that have happened in the last, 3 years, if you take into account the last run up, I feel like, because I started in 2018, and there's a lot of reflection of cycles, and, how do you make sense of what's happening? And there's no way to make sense of anything in life. but our brains like that. And I think that I feel like it on the cycle, this feels like 2019, maybe early 2020, where you're making stuff. No one being the hive mind is paying attention like they were years ago, but that's not the point, right? For me as an artist, like the point is to get these fucking ideas out of my brain so that they don't pile up and drive me insane, right? Like I literally have to keep creating, and the timeline and market sentiment, it can't have a bearing, because if it did, then I wouldn't be creating and releasing. It's a wheel. It keeps turning.
I love that. I was about to ask you if you had any like a strategy on how you deal with these cycles. You actually led right into it. Do you have a strategy as an artist, as a full-time strategy on how you handle the cycles, whether it be from what you put out publicly to how you market yourself or IRL events that you attend? What are some tips that you would be able to give to other artists?
It's funny. There's core strategies, and then there's like cyclical strategies. And I think that my core strategy is to make the best art I can, and then share the art, right? Because once you make the art, it has a life of its own. I can't control how people receive it, what type of value is placed on it. That's not part of the equation, because once that is, I might as well literally go back to being someone's art director or graphic designer, because it's not my vision, right? The money part fucks everything up. So I think for me, doing things that amuse me and I want to share is the first step. And then from there, letting the organic nature of life start opening up possibilities, right? Like a consensus.
Yeah.
I'm doing a series called Filthy Fiat, and it's a story. And the story relates directly to the art, and the two are hand in hand. And together, it creates, to me, a compelling body of work. And when I was at Consensus, no one's seen this stuff. It's just been me in the studio creating, right? Like I don't have like a freaking team. I have me and Raphael. Like we're just cranking on shit. And now when I go out into public, it's fun because I get to tell the story. And for me, as I tell the story, it makes more sense of how I develop the series and it grows, right? This series is happening in real time. So when I tell the story, I was getting reactions that were great. People were stoked on it before I even showed them the art. And to me, I think narrative is important with any artwork. Again, open up. I'm going to show you what this is. Literally, I've had this book since art school, right? Gardner's Art Through the Ages. Like these are all tabs of important things to me, right? Like whatever I'm going through, if I open up one of those tabs, I'm going to learn something because it was important back then.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that's all narrative. Like, why is that book so thick? Because there's stories. It's not just pages of pictures. So I think having the narrative strengthens your story, and don't assume people are going to pull out of this visual what you want to tell.
One of the things that I have discovered through the years of hosting spaces like this in which I talk to an artist, inevitably there is someone that listens to it for the first time and discovers that artist for the first time and has, spaces you can't actually see the person. Right now we're live streaming, and so you can kind of, they kind of get an idea of who you are and et cetera. But still, we haven't showcased any of your work, and especially when it's audio. But one of the most interesting things that has happened throughout the years is that people will say, I love that person. I relate to that person's story. I listened to the show and they talked about XYZ, and I need to have something of theirs, you know? And so it's a discovery process that's very different to the traditional way, you know? And that's one of the things that I love about this space, because when a collector collects, in my opinion, digital art, they're not just, in a lot of cases, they fall in love with the art itself and et cetera. But in a lot of other times, it's because they have met the artist. They've gone the reverse. They have fallen in love with the journey or the meaning or the, you know, the feeling, right? And then the art.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, that's relationship building. You know, I think, again, if you're collecting art, the actual thing that you are investing in is that artist's body of work, past, present, and more importantly, I feel the future. So, you know, when you're buying, you know, let's put it in NFT equations, you know, you are looking for an emerging artist, you know, you're not listening to the hive mind. You're going out on your own and you're looking around. You find a piece of art. The very first thing I would do is learn about the artist, right? And oftentimes for me, that happens even, let's say they pick up an edition or some piece of art of mine and we strike up a conversation. That's an opportunity to get to know each other, right? They get to know me, I get to know them. And that is how, you know, art collecting works. It's patronage. It's gone since the dawn of time, you know? So, you know, I am fortunate that, you know, what are we on year 5 or 6? I've fostered a lot of really deep connections. You know, I have collectors who we just talk about sports or, you know, traveling and family, and the art doesn't even come up.
Yeah.
You know, it's not even like, oh, by the way, what are you working on type of thing, right? And you share. But once you get to that level of the relationship, it strengthens a bond, and that's not even financial. But they, you know, they get to know you more, and they're always deducing in their own mind, like, you know, from a financial investment standpoint, like, is this person going to keep making prolific artwork that I want to support? Yeah. Right. And, you know, again, look back to 2021. If you bought the upside down zebra with the, you know, the wizard staff, they might still be doing stuff. That's great. But if they're not, then that's kind of its own little flag that you need to look at for the viability long term, because, you know, when cycles or interest grows, you know, supply and demand.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of cycles, since the last time that we spoke, I don't even think that it existed, the ordinals ecosystem. You know, the newest thing on the block right now. And what are your thoughts on that?
You know, again, it's experimenting with new technology, much like the AI art. I minted a portrait of Casey Rodarmer, the co-creator of, you know, the team that made ordinals. And I wanted to make a decentralized portrait of Casey on his chain platform, wherever you want, technology layer, just because that's the way my series works, right? So it checked a couple boxes, right? And it was cool that I wasn't going to do a Casey portrait on Ethereum. Like, that doesn't make sense, right? Storyline, like all these things. So it was very, very hard back then. I needed help. And I got that thing inscribed. I thought it was a 2-frame GIF animation like I do with the 3D. It was so early on that GIFs were not possible. So after waiting hours for it to inscribe and do its validation thing and all that, when I looked at it, it was a single picture. And I was, I guess, like, bummed at first, but then very soon thereafter, it's like, that is, again, the story of taking chances and just going for it. And that was like inscription 125,000, which at this point, I don't even know how many millions we're up to, a billion. I have no idea, right? It's exploded since then. So I had this little experimental time capsule, right? And that got me onboarded. And since then, I did a series, the precursor, which I'd love to talk about, the Filthy Fiat series on ordinals. this was a precursor to all of that called Filthy Fiat. And I took a 10-second animation and I split it up into 300 frames. So it's a generative, in a sense, each frame is unique. And I sold those as Emblem Vault ordinals. So I was using that as a tool because Emblem Vault, for people who don't know, is an Ethereum token that wraps a different chain, in this case, an ordinal, right? So my Ethereum collectors are established. So they got a chance to get my first, generative edition, but they could keep it on their Ether wallet, right? So an onboarding tool for my collectors.
Awesome.
Which was great, right? And again, the through line, I don't tell people where I'm going, but I think over time, people start to clue into things. Like, I'm not a one-off type of artist, right? So now, we're talking at least a year and a half since then. I have a massive Filthy Fiat series that's coming out, like physical and digital. And those early collectors bought because they wanted it, right? And they got down with what I was making. This is, like, in a sense, rewarding or benefiting them because they took a chance early on. And those are, you can't even trade them right now, right? So they're locked for collectors, and it just keeps going, right? So now I did a Michael Saylor open edition on the Havening. Again, it was low price. I just wanted people to have a piece of art on ordinals, and it was a portrait I was super proud of, and it wasn't like a revenue thing. It was a culture drop because I wanted people to have the opportunity to have my art on ordinals, right? So all these things are not incentive driven. The incentive is adoption and growth, right? So a calculated drop, and the people who I meet, especially some people in Austin, man, they were just loving that thing. Like one dude I met was all about it, and he went and swept the floor. He's like, wow, do you care if I buy like 25 more of these? I'm like, dude, I would, yeah, dude, like, get them. You still can. They're like $20 each. Go grab one if you want.
Amazing.
So it's getting that culture, right? Getting people hyped on art, getting people hyped on, ordinals, and it all just it's a self-wielding loop that kind of creates a fractal.
I love that you call it a culture drop. I had never heard anybody refer to like to in those words, but yeah, I really like that. That's exactly what that is.
Yeah. So it hit right. It felt good.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't extractive. I was trying to make it as affordable as possible. And again, I was super proud of the art. So if that box gets checked, then it's just sharing time.
What are you seeing from your collectors on that? Maybe the sentiment has changed, but there must have been resistance or agreement. I don't know. There must have been some kind of feeling when you did your first ordinals drop versus now. Have you seen a change in sentiment from the collectors?
I'm always curious about people's preferences, and this has gone ever since new chains started. I was minting on Ethereum, and for the longest time that was the jam. So that's what you do. But then you start having these sub chains, and Tezos, and Solana popped up. I've not even thought about that. Doesn't fit my thesis currently, but doesn't mean it's not fine for what it is. But I've asked around, and I'm more of the person who just lets people know what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
So I reach out to collectors I know, and I've done tweets, and it's just like, hey, this is another experiment, and I'm doing this drop. I'll give you a little lead time, if you'd like to get a wallet, and happy to try to help you through the process. But this is what I'm doing, and it's equal opportunity. And again, if people are down with what I'm making, then they make the effort. And especially that Michael Saylor drop. I was just talking with one of my collectors Blockchain Brett, who has been a longtime supporter, he wasn't an ordinals collector up until that point.
Interesting.
But he bought the open edition, and that's his only ordinal right now. But that opens up a whole opportunity. Like if he sees something else he wants, he doesn't have to set up a wallet. Like there's a lot of value in getting people to get one thing on a chain, right? That opens up the whole totality of future for that chain. And I've seen a lot, and for the collectors who didn't get it, that doesn't matter to me. I'm stoked on who got it. And again, if you want one, they're sitting around. You go and pick one up.
Yeah.
But it's a long story, and I think that the Filthy Fiat series I'm doing has a long tail ordinals drop to it, right? It's not just a single entity, and I'm experimenting, right? I'm coming up with my own drop mechanics and doing things that feel right, add to the story, and I feel bring lasting interest. And with that, I can't control value, but I think if the story and the art and the meaning resonates, then resonation is the interest.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there anything about the ordinals ecosystem that tech wise, the layer of tech that you find interesting versus any other chain? Or is it really more of a cultural thing?
No, there's all kinds of tech in there. And I won't be the first to know what all of that is, because it gets very technical and it's new. So I'm still learning the possibilities, but there's a parent-child inscription that happens where you can inscribe, which is, if you don't know ordinals, it's somewhat the same as minting. It's directly on the chain, right? So instantly that already, in my mind, elevates it above an IPFS link, right? So you're future-proofing yourself onto the most secure blockchain in the history of man, right? And that's one huge value. But then on top of that, you can take this single time inscription, like image, and then you can basically call this image and use it multiple times on other pieces, and it doesn't cost this. You don't have to keep reinscribing it over and over. You can just call that over, and it'll show up on your new piece. So as a collage artist, like, that's freaking awesome. Like, I can slice and dice that forever.
Yeah.
The idea is, once I understand the idea and I can get in there and play with it, I mean, that alone is plenty of art just with that single idea. And I think that the more people understand the different ways of using it, it's huge. And that's one of the things that I have found that I'm learning about. And there's so many other things. Like, that's why I love working with like smart developers, because that's the teamwork that is also a paradigm shift, where it's not just me going to the art store and asking, which acrylic paint does the best and won't crack on me. It's kind of the same thing, where the art, the person who owns the art store is kind of a developer. And now I can go to the developers and say, hey, which tools that are out there can facilitate this vision, right? Or what's the new material I don't even know about, right? And then they'll say, oh, there's this thing, and they give me a little rundown on it, and shit, it's like, okay, like I want to use that now.
Yeah.
So it doesn't stop. And the more the devs are working, the happier I am, because we're not stuck in 2018 Ethereum, where you got a 50 meg file limit and make it work, right? We're getting past those days, and the freedom, for me, it's just endless. It's like a kid in the candy store. Like, let's just go have fun.
You bring up some really cool, some really good innovation, like that Ordinal's ecosystem has been able to bring, right? I mean, strictly inscribing directly on the blockchain. So why would an artist continue to use Ethereum versus Ordinals?
It just hits different. I think that there's still value to all of it, and by all means, I still see very long-term future in Ethereum. I think a lot of the FUD around IPFS and Arweave, it's founded to a certain level, but I don't by any means think that that's going to like hamper the long-term viability of the art. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of tech behind that that is currently being worked on, and Jason Bailey and Right Click Save are working. They have an awesome backup tool system, so even if your IPFS link drops, you can repin these things. You can have a Right Click Save vault, so your token always has the art. So I think it's smart thinking by people to see ahead of the curve and understand the pieces that we need to make sure live on. And Ordinals is great because it's on the SAT, and at that level, you can't even. I guess they're working on a burning mechanism, but right now the way you burn things, you know what that is? Mm-mm. You send it to the Satoshi wallet.
Oh yeah.
Right? Like, how sick is that? Yeah. First of all, like storyline, it's like a little thank you to Satoshi.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, like that's awesome. So I think it's going with the flow and not getting hung up also too much, and just find the tech layer that works for you, whether it's painting, whether it's minting, whether it's sculpture. It's all the exact same thing. Figure out the medium that you want to work with and get to making.
Yeah. Man, that's so cool. That's such I don't know. There's so many cool little anecdotal things that happen here that make us cooler. You know what I mean? And like sending it to Satoshi's wallet, that's one of those things.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, it's just fun again. Not that it ever was not fun, but the continual evolution of the space. Like we were saying when I logged on, like there's never a dull day in crypto for anybody. And especially like right now with me, like just the conversations I've had over the last 8 hours, none of those things were even thought about the day before, but now they're like very real realities that are now part of the mix. Right. And you have to be nimble.
Yeah.
You have to be able to go with the flow. You can't force things. And through that, you get into a flow state in a sense where things come at you and you are like one with the water. And when that happens, more things happen. You can either manifest a bunch of really good things in a row because you're in the flow, or on the opposite side, you can manifest a lot of bad things because you're in that flow.
Yeah.
So pick your flow. I try to go with the flow, and you just gotta freaking ride that and see where it takes you.
What are you manifesting right now, Coldie?
I am manifesting just like I set my intention all the time on just honestly a good life. Right? I have a family. I want to have a good family life, as a professional, creating, it's a feedback loop, right? Like I want to create the very best art I can for myself, but then the reverberations of that can help my family. Like that's it. I just want to like do a good job on this earth, help others, pay it forward. And, through that, I've seen it. It just comes back. And that's not a greed thing. It's just the less you need, the more you get.
That's very true. That's very true. Do you meditate or do you?
I think we might have talked about this story before when I meditated and I saw this art piece that I made. I don't because I have a very fucking bonkers brain that doesn't slow down. Like it's very, very hard to slow it down. And I know that's the point of meditating. I need to do more of that. But I more just have step back moments where I just kind of try to get centered and set my intention, and let that be the whole meditation. Like I don't even think I I don't think I need to sit down for an hour and be quiet to set my intention for things to happen. I think you just have to let it be known.
That is fair. That is fair.
Each their own.
Yeah. And I'm sure that you use your art as a way to also manifest, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, all these things are encoded with so much shit that, if you talk to me about it, I might bring it up. But art is therapy. Art is, your own, like you said, manifesting. And I think the best part of making art for me is just getting out of my head.
Yeah.
And making. And that's kind of like the dual track of maybe that's it. It's like I'm not thinking in a sense of the totality of what's going on. I have a process and I have a thing that I'm like locked into. And I think that is the time that opens up the meditative sense.
Yeah. Yeah. So Filthy Fiat, I love the name.
Yeah.
What were you thinking about it? I mean, it's kind of obvious, but I'm super curious. Walk us through. How do you even come up with that name?
This is a tale. Okay, so all right, here we go. So several years ago, I was, getting my bug out bag together. I live in fire country, so you got to be prepared for things that could happen. And, part of that's a bug out bag, or if I need to go, I need to have some shit in there just to have. And there was also the sense of preservation of value to a certain extent. Like, well, I'm not going to run around with, I'm not going to keep money in my bug out bag, a little bit, but like so basically I buried a box. Okay. I buried a box in my parents' backyard. And bless them, they love me and they know I'm just who I am. They're, I asked them, like, do you care? They're like, ah.
But when was this?
This was in 2020, 2021.
Okay. Got it.
Okay. I just was going for it, right? Intuitive thing as well. I was like, you know what? This sounds even hairball to me, but like hairball. It's funny. It kind of leads into it. Buried it in the ground. I had it in like a safe box, and I duct taped it. I put bags on it. I was like, impenetrable. I felt. Buried it in the ground. Year and a half goes by, and I was like, if this is going to stand the test of time, I need to know that this box is doing okay. Like a little fact checking. So I found the box. It wasn't in the spot I thought it was right away. So I had to dig like 3 holes. It was pretty funny. Found the box. And when I opened it up, moisture had gotten into the whole thing.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. And it wasn't like a pool of water, but it was a moisture box for like, a year and a half underground. So there's inevitably some dirt moisture, some just regular vapors. And I open up the bag of money, and it was like a stack of bills. They're singles. Probably wasn't going to get me very far, but that was my plan at the time. And it was literally a block of mold. Just, if you looked at that on its own, you'd be like, I don't even know what that is. But it was stacks of US dollars. So, I was like, oh man, messed that one up. Luckily, it wasn't hundreds. So it wasn't like I was out, thousands of dollars. But I was like, well, what do I do now? So I went down to my local bank, and I walked in there with my bag of moldy money. And I just, play it off like I was just any normal customer, which I am, walk in. I was like, hey, I need to trade in these dollars that got like waterlogged. I need to get some fresh bills from you guys. Sounds simple enough. Well, I couldn't even believe how quickly it all escalated. They all ran, like the branch manager, the assistant manager, the teller were all like, holy shit. Like you can tell they got trained on this one day in class or something. And the branch manager was like, hey, you got to get out of here with that biohazard. We can't have that in the bank. It made sense once I thought about it. I was like, okay. So what do I do to get my fresh money? And they said that they would take my information and the U.S. Treasury would send me a bag that I could put my biohazard bills into. They would figure out how much money was in there, and then they would like send me a check or something, And I was like, okay, fine, fair. Let's just do that. And fast forward 1 month, 6 months, time was passing, and that damn bag never made it. So then I started thinking about this whole thing differently. I was like, wait, I can make art with this. Like it's the perfect symbolism of everything that I am personally against, and the ethos of hard money and crypto is these are filthy fiat worthless debt notes, right? These things are only valuable if someone was willing to accept that from you. And these 100 bills, no one was going to accept those, so they're worthless. Mm-hmm. So that's the case in point of the entire fiat system I was holding in my hands. So I was like, yeah, we're going to make art out of this. And the very first step was getting into a safe space that I could mask up and get my gloves on and literally crack open the block of mold and see what was in there. There was no way of knowing what these bills were like going to look like. It could have just been a total loss. They could have just been mushy and fallen apart. But the one great thing about these debt notes is the paper they're printed on is very hardy, right? So I would slide my X-Acto knife in there and it was it's generative nature-based art. Like,
wow.
It's dirt and water and how they were stacked, what bills stuck together, what mold was on what bill. Every single piece is totally unique and cannot be replicated ever. So as I'm popping these things open, it's like Christmas morning. I would freaking pop this thing open, and the most beautiful, nasty, moldy money that I never envisioned seeing was like in front of me. And I was like, holy shit, like this is a new path, right? That I cannot wait to crack open. And now I'm making a whole ordinals recursive series using this. I'm very stoked about it.
That's incredible. That's the organic definition of generative art.
Yeah, nature generative art. Like it's freaking fun, man. I will tell you that.
That's amazing, Coldie. I love that story. What is going on, Cory? Welcome to the show.
What up, everybody? How's it going, Coldie? Yo, that was dope. What? Yeah, that was sick. I can't wait to see. I can't wait to see what those look like.
They're nasty.
Yeah, it sounds nasty.
Did you have a mask on when you were going through these bills?
Yeah, like mask on outside. I was not in a clean room, but like there's precautions to be made. There's a legit living mold at all times.
How many they were all able to be saved, or?
So I'm still in the process of separating. Like
nice.
It's still happening, and it's funny because I didn't like write down how many bills I put in there. I think it was 100 because I got another stack for like a yard sale we were doing, and like it looked like a similar stack. So I think it was $100, but like it's not gonna be 100 bills. It's gonna be like some are like little fragments of like George Washington or the Mint.
Nice. Like the little pieces of mold and stuff.
Here, I'll show you one here. I actually have one here.
There we go.
So this is one.
Oh, nice. And the little card thing.
In the card holder.
Nice.
Right. So
that's dope.
That black is black mold, right? And like all the edges are exactly how I cracked it out. These little pieces on the sides, like everything was preserved.
Awesome.
Like nothing clean. So this this is one of the artifacts, right?
Beautiful.
Thank you. So, it's a living series, and where it goes from here is it's part of the flow, right? You're creating in real time. The art is kind of talking to me just as much as I'm experiencing it. So it's very meditative. Like it's freaking fun.
Yeah.
I have this. You just reminded me. I have this that Colburn.
Oh yes.
Do you have one of these?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I have one of those too.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're called magic internet monies, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I keep it up there, and I keep it up on my shelf. And it's funny how we all, it always ends up coming back to currency, right?
Yeah.
Pindar Van Arman also just recently came out with his own ordinals collection. And it's the penny. It's the penny as a PFP, and it's all like generative, changes to each and every one of them. So yeah, no, I think that's amazing. That's really, really cool. So Coldie, what is your plan for the entire collection?
It's good. It's funny. I'm working on the website. Like I got to get this announced. It will be multi-drop based with an interesting mechanic on the drop. I haven't finalized it, but I'll say that it's not a one-time thing. It's going to go on, and it will build on itself as the series goes. So, I'm educating. This is also again an educational drop.
Mm-hmm.
Where I want to teach people who might not know how fiat currency, rehypothecation, all these lending and inflationary tools are put on these bills. There's a lot of mechanics built in that speak to different aspects of our money system. So there's a lot to it. But the first drop is going to be at Bitcoin Nashville. It's the perfect location, right? Because everybody who understands hard money is going to be there. And another major part of this is there's going to be IRL pop-up shows. And these are going to happen in locations that have a Federal Reserve Bank in them. And Nashville happens to be one of those cities. So it checks a whole bunch of boxes. And to me, that's the go sign when those things synchronistically line up. And so there's going to be a drop there. I'm working with an awesome dev team, Inscribing Atlantis. They're the OGs. And together we're going to make some fucking really fun, filthy fiat ordinals.
Hell yes, that's amazing. That's amazing. I will be in Nashville, and I can't wait to see you and to see it. All the experience of it. Right? I think that'll be really cool. Cory, are you? First of all, hello, congratulations.
Hi. Sorry, I'm late. My bad. Thank you though.
You had an auction that closed out today.
Yes, I did. It was good, Yeah, it was fun. It's always nice to release art. I haven't released some serious art in a while, so it was good to get that out.
Move to the side a little bit.
Oh yeah.
So let me see it. Wrong way. There you see that. That's how you should display it. There you go.
Right there.
It's
that's a really beautiful piece of art.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, this is the work that I released. I actually did like an animation, so it's like the actual NFTs and animation of it, and it was fun. It's a story of it kind of like tells this little story of the Black Cowboy and how kind of the Black Cowboy has always been like a black sheep in culture, and ever since slavery ended, there's been Black Cowboys, and I just want to shed some light on that shit. So,
Black Cowboy from Houston. I'm from Texas.
Yeah, you should know all about it then.
I know all about it. But I want you to explain it to us because I know all about it. I know it. I see it. I grew up in it. But to a person that's not from Texas or from anywhere that has ever had any experience with the culture, why is that different? Why would we even call it, like, how come when you say black cowboy I immediately know?
Well, I think it all started with this when slaves, we were all black slaves, and what we would see is white men on horse bossing us around on the field. And so whenever a black person was able to get on a horse, that was like this like change of like power, equality, or levelness to show like we were on the same plane, and maybe even more powerful if when you see that, just because we've been from the bottom up and then we come to that level and see eye to eye. So I find myself in a similar space all the time, where it's maybe predominantly a white space, whether it's ice hockey when I was playing when I was a little kid, or dirt bikes. I used to race dirt bikes. I used to go to the skate park and ride razor scooters and skateboard all the time. That's another predominantly white sport. And I always shined through, and I never let that stop me. So I think that's exactly what it means to be like a black cowboy from the very jump. Is just kind of like taking your owning yourself, and not letting that stop you from enjoying life and being who you are.
Empowering.
Yeah, empowerment. It's just like the silhouette. I use this hat. You can kind of see it. You see it up here. The hat, is like it's kind of become this iconic symbol for me, because my grandmother, she used to wear a similar Stetson hat. It didn't have the horns, but she had this really iconic hat that our whole family kind of knew her for wearing. And it's kind of like this same story, just like she's the grandmother figure. We all would go to her house for family dinners like Thanksgiving and Christmas and stuff like that. And so I don't know, just seeing this hat, and then now she's gone, and that hat is with our family now. My mom owns it, and she's holding on to it, and she's gonna pass it down to us when she's gone, and it's just gonna be this like staple in our family. So and to also tie that in with my grandmother's brother, who is my uncle Herbie, who this piece was really inspired by. He's actual black cowboy and bronco buster, and he had growing up, he had horses and stables and all that stuff. And whenever we would see him, there was a few the most notable times where when he was all dressed up with his homies going to like a rodeo or something like that, and they'd always have like the really nice outfits on, and spurs, and just looking so cool, like almost like pimps.
Yeah.
And so I like I'm from like this kind of city area. Like I'm always into those kind of things. But then Western culture was always around me, because that's just was always around me somehow. It was always around me, and I got involved into it, riding horses myself. Like my best friend, he always had like a horse, or his friends had horses, and me just hanging out with him, we'd just be around horses all the time, or goats, or whatever the fuck it was. So I got introduced into that culture, and this was just kind of like it just I don't know. For me, it always just showed like a different way of life, like to like get away from other things that I could be introduced to in the city or doing other shit. So I don't know. It gave us something else to do, and I felt like I was achieving something whenever I was like cleaning a goat stable, because I'd make some money on the end. So yeah, I don't know. I think that was like my first introduction to like hard work and getting and it paying off. So yeah. It's a little bit about it.
I think that's beautiful. There's a lot of empowerment behind that. There's also a lot of like life skills behind it, right? I think one of my life goals is always like one of the things that I have in the back of my mind is to always make sure that those those styles of life, that way in which we look at like the Black cowboy experience, right? Or like a
Mm-hmm.
cowboy, or like a farmer, or anything else that has had just hasn't had it as easy as people today, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like when you have kids, it becomes a responsibility of yours, at least one of mine, that you teach your children that, right? And that
Mm-hmm.
you expose them to all of those different things. So I've had a lot of experience similar to yours, and so I'm super grateful for having seen that, and like been put in a situation that I'm cleaning out a stable myself,
Mm-hmm.
those shitty
Yeah.
situations that
Yeah.
you learn so much out of, right? It's those that builds your own character. So
Yeah,
um,
like it's crazy, like even more modern culture, you kind of see it. We have had the movie Django, even
yeah.
more recently Beyonce and other musical artists who happen to be black and kind of been expressing a Western culture. Pharrell just did a bunch of stuff with Louis Vuitton. All his clothes have like a lot of them had like a Western vibe to them. So it's really interesting. I think I'm just tapping into a frequency that's kind of in our culture right now, and I'm expressing myself that way as well. And and I don't know, I just always threw uh it was something I was talking about yesterday on Spaces, and some people came up and wanted to talk, and like this lady came up and then this other gentleman came up, and they were just really really happy that I was shining light on this figure, and that is such a powerful thing to a lot of people out there. And I didn't understand that's what I was really doing when I was painting this. I just thought it meant something to me,
Mm.
and that's just kind of what happens with my work. I just try to like pick stuff that means stuff to me, and then I share with the world, and all of a sudden, like people are like, "Oh, I connect with that in this way and that way." And yeah, I don't know. It felt really good to just put that out there and hear that, like, wow, you really like this is a silhouette that you should really keep working on and expressing. And I want to dive into doing more with the Cowboys. So this is just the beginning. This is the third iteration of the Bull Run hat that I've kind of dubbed on these different Cowboys that I've painted, and I want to like share that story a little bit more and dive into maybe the Black Cowboy and what that means in the culture. I've already had this in my mind. I want to do like a Black Bull Rider. I watched this documentary on Black Bull Riders and what it means to that community and stuff like that. So I'm gonna try and work my way into that and connect with some of those guys and see if I can get a piece out of them.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
I got a question for you, Cory. So, I mean, obviously, I've followed your work. Recently, I don't know if it might have been a year ago or so when you did the Native American
yeah,
piece. Is
yes,
there
sir.
is there a storyline between the two that you see? Because I see historically, there's that through line of both. Is that
Yeah, I
uncommon?
think I think it's all. I mean, I'm always expressing me, myself to everybody. So every painting is a reflection of myself, a feeling or whatever. This one is like my kind of like my past, or some of my family, and some of what we've gone through in our history, and coming from like a country lifestyle, and ha- building a better space for our children and families going forward. And that's been like a common theme with my family, whether it be my white side or my black side of my family. And so with the Native American piece, it's this very similar thing where I was tapping into my culture. I'm Native American as well, and so I went through like a whole past year to a year and a half of like a spiritual journey, diving into ayahuasca and plant medicine and things like that, and tapping into my Native American roots. And yeah, that painting means about the same as much as this one, because it is that like me getting closer with my like history and my culture, and kind of expressing what that means to me, and shining light on that,
I think from a historical, even a family lineage, uh,
Mm-hmm.
you're giving so much love and honor to your own roots that
Mm-hmm.
it exudes, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm proud for you and your lineage, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're getting it out there, and I think it's great to see as an artist like really getting vulnerable and going deep, right? It's so easy
Yeah.
not to go deep, but to
It's
go deep,
tiring, bro. I'm
fuck
telling
yeah.
you, man. I expressed it like this the other day. Think about I think we got the clip, but you think about the hardest things that you've ever gone through in your life, and you face those every single day, and express and figure out a way to like share that with everybody in some sort of way. And that's kind of what I do, and I'm sure that's what every other artist is trying to figure out what to do, how to do every day when they make art as well. But I've been, for the last, definitely for this new collection I'm about to release in August. This is like the most deepest I've gone into my feelings and my soul, and dealing with like my demons, and for the easiest way to express it and get people to understand it. And so that's why I'm painting it like that. They look like demons, and I'm dealing with that shit. So and it feels good to get it out, finally being able to release it and express it, and then I can evolve from that and be a better person, and be who I want to be from that and then on. So that's what this is what, or that's what this one is as well. So it's me, dealing with stuff and finding out about my culture, and not really, like, I didn't grow up knowing about that stuff really, and knowing what it really meant to be that, or embracing that part of myself. So I'm embracing it all and sharing it with the world.
I feel like a lot of as generations happen, subconsciously there's generational traumas that get passed cycle
Mm-hmm.
to cycle, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I see this as you repairing,
Mm-hmm.
setting yourself and your past and future lineage free, right? There's,
Yes. Yes.
as you do that, everything gets better, right? Like,
Yes.
as you move on as a person, and your family around you, it reverberates. So
Yes.
I'm getting the tinglies.
Yes,
Getting,
I appreciate you for understanding me. It's hard for me to get those words out in a way where people can kind of resonate, but you it sounds like you're understanding what I'm trying to convey to the people.
no, it's hidden. Yeah,
Thank you very much.
absolutely.
I love how open you are to being vulnerable, and how you include that, in
Yeah,
your
the
words and your
the
art.
pink, man, the pink. Is imagine a very masculine setting. This man's in a cowboy in a white, masculine setting. Bulls, testosterone everywhere, but he's got all pink on. He's flashy. He's holding his head high, smoking a cigarette, looking cool as fuck.
Yep.
So I think that's another way of me, expressing that, empowerment, being able to just, undress yourself for the whole world and be able to not give a fuck.
Looking like a pimp back there.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. When I see a black cowboy in real life, that's exactly the vibes that you get,
Mm-hmm.
It's like I don't know, it's like they had to
Had
go
to turn the swagger on extra 10 so that they get the
and
respect.
just the respect that they demand is
Yeah.
incredible. The
Mm-hmm.
respect that they just by looking at them or being near them. I don't get intimidated too much by the cowboy culture, because
Mm-hmm.
again, I grew up in it. You know what I mean? Like my
Mm-hmm.
field trips were to the rodeo, so
Mm-hmm.
I'm used to it. But
Yep.
it's very different. It's very, very different to see
Mm-hmm.
that, and you immediately, because it demands it. Damn it! Like there's
Yes.
no other way to
Yeah.
say it.
You're like,
It demands
well,
it.
it's got the nicest boots and hat on in this place.
Exactly. It just demands it. Yeah. No. So what's next? What's next in this series?
So I have the hat. God, I keep doing that. I have the hat up there. I want to make real versions of the hat. So I'm working on that right now to make the real bull run hats. I've been getting really into taking objects and elements from my paintings and creating real versions of them. So I've just been doing that in every single way that I can, whether it be sculptures or merchandise, things that you can actually use, or, whatever I can. And I think that's the direction I'll be going with that, and obviously more cowboy scenes and things like that. But I have a collection I'll be releasing in August, and that'll be a 2-month in real life show with a digital auction that comes along with that, and we'll be announcing all the details and stuff like that real soon. But I have got everything all locked in, all the arts. I got one painting left to kind of finish up, but all the art's pretty much finished. That's 18 new 101s. So all paintings that have and then all paintings, 18 paintings, and then there's going to be maybe 8 digital animations that kind of work with the paintings. And on the real life show that'll be up for 2 months, we'll have the paintings will have projection overlays of the animations, so the paintings will look like they move and stuff like that. So I'm been really working on immersing people into my world, and I haven't shown my work physically in a long time. So and I paint, so it'd be really nice for people to really grasp the artwork in its fullness, because you can't do that on a phone, on a computer screen. You really can't. No matter how cool I make an animation, no matter how good I get it scanned and create a page for you to look at it at the biggest you can look at it and look at every little dust speckle on there, it's only going to give you that effect in person in real life. You'll feel the soul. It's like having a person standing in front of you. We can talk like this, but when we talk in person, it's kind of different, It's the same thing with artwork, or with a painting, at least. That in real life show, I've been working on that for 2 years now, and it's been real meaningful. I've been I just didn't want to put out something, and I'm literally have gone, I'm beard, I've been in my studio, I don't go out, I don't do anything, I'm fucking broke as shit, I have no money, whatever the fuck, this is all in on this thing, and this is when you get the best art from artists. So I think this is going to be another one of my bangers.
Yeah.
And Cory, I've told this to you personally many times, but your ability to capture, especially I keep staring at the folds in the jacket, fucking mesmerized, and it's just your ability to capture that detail and realism is just it's like mastery, dude. It's fucking beautiful, and you can tell that you're not quickly going through these things. It's a meticulous. Everything is so on point, and just props to you as a painter to capture that, because it's not anybody who's painted. That's not something you come up with.
Thank you.
That's years and dedication in the flesh. So
that's all I do every day. I've honestly I'm so worn out. Like I said, I have one more painting for this show. I'm worn out, bro. I gotta I've taken a couple days to just chill. I need to chill, bro. I paint every day usually, every day, at least for 5-6 hours at the least, but mostly I'm 10 hours on every day. I'm painting all day long. The only thing I'm taking a break, smoking and eating. That's it. So that's why I look I'm looking crazy right now. I'm usually cleaned up, looking nice, but I'm looking crazy. I've been growing my beard out. I got gray hairs popping out everywhere. Oh no, I'm getting old.
You still got good hair, man. All my hair's falling out. So
I lucked out with that. That Native American in me is holding on. So
You had the hat on, Coldie.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not doing bad. I got.
Oh, hair. You got hair up there. Yeah, I was gonna say I've never seen you without a hat. What the fuck?
I got hair.
You got hair.
Seen you without a hat.
I used to have big, long, flowing locks, but
nice.
But that was the 20s. That was a fun time.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you, Cory. So,
Yeah.
when I saw that you were dropping in today, that the auction was ending today, I thought surely he's not going to find the time to join us. I wasn't going to.
No, it ended this morning. We did like a 24-hour auction. I started it early yesterday, so it's cool though. I had a good time. It's always nice to, like I said, it's always nice to express and get my artwork out there. And I'm never really like worried about any results or anything like that. For me, it's always to just get it out, man. Like I have this crack on my forehead to get these ideas out of my head. All this an artist. I'm sure you guys know Almond Bertoni. She's an artist in our space as well. She made this post the other day talking. It was something along the lines of feeling like we're as an artist, we feel like we're at a end of a race till the end of time because we have all these ideas and don't have enough time to get them out to you guys to like express them and share them with you guys. I have so many cool ideas and I want to share them with you guys.
Mm.
And it feels like I'm in a race to the end of time. So I've got this crack tattooed on my forehead to like open up my brain and get the ideas out faster.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Hey, that IRL event that you're planning on having, can you share with us where it's going to be?
Yes, it'll be here in Florida. I'll be sending out like these like friends and family and collectors invitations really soon, and those will kind of like help serve as our announcement for everything.
Cool.
But out here, it will be in a town called Dania Beach, which is like right next to Fort Lauderdale. So it's like north of Miami and south of Fort Lauderdale. So it's like kind of in between, but up towards Fort Lauderdale. So it's going to be at a like a digital art kind of like museum. They're geared towards like technology driven art, and so there's a lot of like projection mapped rooms that have like artists have taken over whole rooms and done their like own like installations and things, working with like lasers and smoke and like crazy like I don't know. They do all these like different things in each room, and I'm going to take over like one of their main spaces and turn it into like a nice museum style gallery and do those like projections over the artwork and kind of work with their technology because they have like all this in-house like capabilities there. I got all the best projectors, all this like motion cap, 3D surround sound, all this crazy stuff in the place. So yeah, I'm been working with them the last couple months figuring out all that stuff and doing like all the production behind the scenes and like setting up the walls where all the paintings go, getting all the graphics for like all the like extra walls and like all those vinyl cutouts and all the cool stuff that they do. Yeah, that'll be, like I said, that'll be like if you were trying to come out to Florida and be here for August 3rd, you fly out probably to Fort Lauderdale or Miami, either one. It's just like a 45-minute drive from Miami. So yeah.
It'll be here before you know it.
Yeah, it'll be here real quick. Yeah, we're about to announce it real soon. That's why I've been okay talking about it. I didn't want to like
awesome.
give out too much though.
Yeah, I know. I got to push you for a little bit of alpha. Coldie, 10 years from now, what do you want a person to remember you by?
Well, hopefully I'm still alive.
Today, though, what do you want a person to say? 10 years ago, this is how I thought of him.
Say again. Oh, what I think people will 10 years from now.
What do you want
I think just the distilling thoughts and taking chances, and becoming as human as I can to connect with people. Much the same as Cory, like getting the thoughts out of my mind so that I can share my life's experiences and the things that come up along the way that aren't planned. I think really adds to the totality of a person's life. So just the fact that I wasn't rigid and, I went where my intuition took me, and with that breeds the authenticity of me as a person and an artist.
Cory, how about you?
This is what this is like what I would see as myself or what I want other people to see me in 10 years. Is that what you're saying?
Uh-huh.
Okay. All right. I don't want I don't want to be so hard on myself. I can't control things, so I just need to not worry about that part and do things. Just do. Because then that, like, worrying about the outcome of something so much, my practice, my artwork is really like, I stick to it like a really strong, like, process. I do this sepia, so I do this black and gray, I do the color, and I do everything in this like strict way. I think my dad was in the military, and he kind of like put that on me as a kid, and so I think going like 10 years from now, I've been learning to, like, as an artist, like learning to let go of that so much. There's not really, there's beauty in between all of that. There's beauty in between the strict, like, this is how it's done. Just like going off the beaten path. And that's kind of like how I've gotten to where I am, is to kind of just jump off into the unknown and find yourself swimming in the madness, and you'll evolve while you're in the madness, while everybody's trying to still figure out how to swim. So yeah, more of that.
There's in the madness.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I appreciate both of you joining us today. I want to give you an opportunity to say any parting words. How can we continue to support you, Coldie?
First of all, it's been awesome, Belle. Thanks for putting this together, and Cory to share a stage is awesome. So,
yeah, we gotta do this again for sure.
Yeah, this is great. We gotta talk more in general.
Of course.
But yeah, just in general, I'm just gonna keep creating stuff. I have the Bitcoin Nashville event, which I think will be a very fun way to connect.
When is that?
It's like the show itself is on the 24th of July.
Okay.
In Nashville.
And that's gonna be the first with the moldy dollars.
Yeah, this will be the first generative collection, and it's an ordinal, so it's all a whole new experiment.
I've been like doing all my research with the ordinals. I'll get there. I got something for it. I just want to do it right. Like, it sounds like you figured out something that clicked with you, and you're like, oh yeah, we got it now. Let's go. Yeah. So I'm waiting for that moment with me, and then I'm gonna get there too.
Well, let me know. I got people that can help.
Awesome.
But yeah, doing that show, and I'm always on fucking X Twitter thing, so that's where I'm at.
Coldie was one of the first people to adopt it too, from like traditional, the Ethereum side of it. One of the first.
Yeah, this is the OG right here. Triple OG.
OG. Yes, super duper OG.
I feel very old.
But you're not. You're early adopter, brother.
Oh yeah. We're just getting started, right? We're just getting started.
That's right. That's right. Cory, what about you?
Now that I'm not like so heavily in the middle of painting an 18-piece collection, I think it's time for me to come out of my art cave. So you'll be seeing my face a little bit more. Maybe I'll shave a little bit too, so it doesn't look so scary when you see me. It's my playoff beard. It was for the Panthers. Panthers won the cup, so I can shave it now. It's all good. Yeah, I think you guys will start seeing me. I'll be going to like events and things like that now. It's been a while since I've gone out, so yeah, I've just been locked in. Now I want to share everything, so it's time to go outside. But definitely the next, over the summer, and then the end of the year, I'll be outside.
Nice.
Yeah.
Share yourself with the world.
Yeah.
We're excited. We are very excited. All right, gentlemen. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Belle. Sorry again for being late, you guys. But I'm glad it worked out. It's kind of perfect. So
yeah. No apologies needed at all. I posted last week for if you guys haven't seen it, the most sincere moment that Cory had in which he took over my screen. So I lost electricity. Coldie, I was telling you this, but I didn't tell you the second half of it. I lost electricity and it kicked me out, and we were live streaming, and Cory was kind of filling in the blanks, waiting for me to come back on, and never did. But he went on, like I asked him a question. asked him a question, and then he was answering it, but he went on to give this most sincere, moment. I think maybe because
you blush now. Come on now.
I don't know what it was, but it was like camera off, you were having this moment, and
it's that time for me
from somebody, and they were like, yo, Cory's continuing to go off, and I was like, oh shit, he doesn't know that I'm on camera anymore. And she was like, no, but let him, it's amazing. And it was amazing. So
yeah I like I said, like you guys are saying, I've been vulnerable.
vulnerable.
So I've been I'm in that space right now, and I'm coming out of it. So like I'm starting to like express everything, and you guys caught me in a good one, and I'm glad you recorded this, because I was like, damn, I hope that I was like, I hope people heard that, and if you didn't, well, oh well.
I know it was perfect. It was perfect. It's perfect. So look, we got 239 people looking right now, watching us a live stream. Y'all, 239 people need to go back and watch that clip. I'm not lying. It was perfect.
Yeah, it's a gem. It's a gem. If you haven't seen it yet, make sure you go watch that one.
That's right. That's why no apology needed and coming in late, because we already got that,
All right.
The best. All right, everybody. Hey, if you are not following me, make sure that you go out and follow me, Bell NFTs. Make sure you're following Coldie. Make sure you're following Cory, then Lou, doing amazing stuff in this space. Every single week, I bring to you new artists, new people, and old returns and OGs when they are amazing. And everybody that I fucking get on here is amazing. Thank you very much. So next week, we're going to be talking about music and NFTs, and we have an incredibly jam-packed month already in the month of July. So tune in every single Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you didn't know, now you know. I'll catch everybody next week. Have a good one, everybody.
All right.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
All right. Bye, Belle. Thank you for everything.
Of course, you too. Peace.
Peace.